So how many times have you gone to film something like an interview and you walk into the space and it's extremely small?
Right now it's 7:57 and first interview is supposed to be at 8:30, so we got less than 30 minutes to set up, so I'm trying to be fast.
Or you're in this corporate office area where you have these very small rooms that you can work with, and before the shoot you just imagine that you're going to have this beautiful set, that you're going to have this beautiful interview, but you walk in and all your hopes are gone and you kind of panic.
We're close.
In this video we're going to talk about how to film an interview in a small space and give you some tips to think about whenever you walk into that space that's small and work with it. Tip number one, and honestly probably the best tip, is to use as much room as you possibly can. Don't walk into a small area and automatically put your character just against a wall. Try and find as much space as you can to really get that depth of field that you want and kind of show off the space. And tip number two is use the lights that are already on. One thing that I did when I first started out is I would turn all the lights off and it would just be pitch black and dark and moody, and it wouldn't be filled in and it just looked weird. Now, something I do now is I keep the lights on. But in tip number three, what I do is whenever you sometimes have those overhead lights, you get those harsh shadows on the eyes from if there's overhead lights on. And one thing you can do is get a really cheap, like $15 reflector on Amazon and use that to flag off your light overhead. And that's going to create a lot of nice shaping on the face and just kind of change everything. To be honest with you, if I didn't have that reflector with me, I feel like the whole entire shot would have looked bad. Tip number four is use the walls to bounce your light off of. Now, we were trying to use as much space as we possibly could. And because of that, we ended up bouncing our main light off the wall, and it acted as a key light for our main talent that was going to be interviewed. Now, ideally, you want a wall that's white or a neutral color like a lighter gray. If you were to bounce it off of say a green wall or a red wall, your room might be a little bit more red or green. For some reason, when I first started, I never thought that bouncing a light off a wall was a good thing, but it creates a super large source soft light on your face of your character, and it makes it nice. And probably one of the biggest tips that I can give you that really just change how your interviews will look in a small space are using accessory lights. Now, what do I mean by accessory lights? Accessory lights are something that are lighting the background, or it's lighting just a specific thing in the background. Like maybe you have a trophy, or you have an award, or there's a logo in the background that you want to light up. Now, it's the same exact thing, except this time you're just adding a little fill or a little light in the background. I kind of actually have some right back here in this area. It's not super necessary to have, but whenever you go to a space wherever you're kind of maybe there you are pushed up against a wall, having some light or just patches of light really just changes up the background and gives it a nice dynamic look. One example is I was filming for a client and we were in this conference room and it just didn't look good, and it was hard to find something that was going to make the background look good. So I ended up blasting a light through a paper bag from a grocery store and made some little holes in it and put it up against the wall, and it looked pretty nice. But here are 5 tips on how to light an interview in a small space. Now, again, all spaces are different. The space that I was in, maybe you could say that it was big. The space that I'm in now, you could probably say that it's a lot smaller. But thank you for watching. I hope that these 5 tips have helped you maybe in some way. Comment below if you have any other questions that you think that could be fun to talk about whenever it comes to interviews. I love doing interviews, and it's one of my favorite parts of filmmaking is getting to light a space, getting to sit down with the character or the person or the story you're trying to tell and getting to know them. And so if you have any comments or questions, please let me know. Please subscribe to this channel, give it a thumbs up, and peace.